You listen to Subs Weekly One on the Blue Room. It's me, Dave Downey. It's Les Roberts, and it's Pete McFarlane as well. And it's a glorious podcast here on Subs Weekly. Les is the only one here who we can see, by the way, because me and Pete with our ugly faces don't really go on these things. But obviously, Les records this for our YouTube, so he likes to show his face and all that, and he will be as well at some point, but this year for Eurovision. But we'll reveal everything about that when it's happened. Start with yourself, Les, about 1-0 win at home to Brentford. And I keep on banging on this comment that this is against a side that had only lost 4 games in the Premier League this season, which is the same amount that Manchester City had lost. A side that were on the best run of 12 games without defeat in the Premier League as well, the best in the Premier League at the time. It can't be understated that we've gone and done a side 1-0, clean sheet, given our situation versus what theirs has been as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of those games that, I mean, every game feels like a must win at the minute, doesn't it? Because it's so tight at the bottom now. I think it'll be 3 points off bottom and 2 points off 12th, or something stupid like that. So every game has got that massive importance about it. These coming to Goodison on a high. I don't think we beat them in years, have we?
No, there's a long time since we've done anything. I mean, obviously we haven't done them away from home in the last 2 seasons since they've been in the Premier League, and we didn't do them at home, did we?
I think that was a cup game, wasn't it? A cup game aside, though.
That's right. Yeah.
They're not like I don't know. They've not been an easy team. They've been really good this season. So yeah, it was great to sort of grind out that result, but I don't think I can go through another few months of this every game, because I mean, that second half, we started doing that classic thing, didn't we, where we kind of sit back a little bit, sort of kept inviting the pressure on. And, they did knock it round really well, to be fair to them. I mean, some of the plans seemed a little bit one-dimensional. They'd knock it round really nicely, but then just whack it over the top for like a winger to run onto, or over the top for Ivan Toney to get. And we dealt with that pretty well. But you just felt as the game went on, you thought something's going to give, something, there's going to be some unlucky rebound, or we won't get the bounce of the ball, or someone will score a worldie, especially after we got that goal disallowed. You thought might not be our day this, because I thought they would have scored at least. I thought we would have needed more than 1 goal, but it was another solid performance, a couple of goal line clearances and last ditch defending, but looking back, you can enjoy it more than like watching it at the time, though. It's going to age us again horrifically this season.
Peter, put the point that Les made there about what Brentford were doing, trying to get the ball over the top, to give it to Toney and obviously try and get an equaliser or a win in the game at some point. It leads me to move on to somebody I think I'll be talking to a little bit later in the podcast, and about. Not talking to. I'd like to talk to him, I suppose, and have a chat about his time at Everton in the last 7 years. But Michael Keane has returned from darkness to be Everton's centre-back, ahead of Cody, ahead of Mina, ahead of Holgate. He seems very much like he's Sean Dyche's man to go alongside Tarkowski. The Burnley back two there. Dare to say it, and I say this quietly, I'm trying to say it quietly, Michael Keane actually looks like a solid centre half. Am I saying that too quickly? But yes, just referring to what Les said there about the ball coming over the top, he looked like he handled most of it pretty well.
Yeah, he did, and I mean, one thing with Michael Keane, I think we've discussed before about, he has had issues in terms of his confidence and certainly his mental health and things like that in the past, and he's been very open and honest about that, which is fair play to him. One thing I would say is that just in terms of what Sean Dyche seems to have done, not just with Michael Keane but a number of players, is that he seems to have taken it very back to basics, which is something that I am massively in favour of. So he wants his defenders to defend, he wants his attackers to attack, he wants his midfielders to work hard, he wants people putting pressure all over the pitch. I was always of the opinion that Michael Keane, one of the reasons why he was so mentally tired on a football pitch and why he made so many individual errors was because I just think he was just doing too much throughout the 90 minutes, because he was expected. I mean, I always go back to this thing about I cannot stand playing 3 at the back, and I can't stand this like tippy-tappy nonsense when it's all about possession, it's all about stats, it's all about XG and all that rubbish. I know people hate me for saying that, but in terms of literally I want my defenders to defend. I'm quite like sort of old fashioned in that sense. And I always thought about Michael Keane of the amount of times or the amount of games we'd spend where we would just pass the ball across the back, across the back, across the back, across the back, and get absolutely nowhere. In my opinion, if you're a defender playing in that system, you're having to work massively hard, so much harder than you should be, in terms of being mentally switched on and also physically having to constantly make angles for passes and constantly, passing the ball back and forward amongst yourselves. And I genuinely just think that when it got down to just defending, the pressure on them was so high that that's where mistakes were coming from. Whereas actually, if you get the ball away from your defenders and let your attackers do the work in the final third, or get your midfielders, get the ball in an area where your defenders can just basically just reset and get ready for the next attack, I think that's the better way forward. And again, I think Sean Dyche has noticed in Michael Keane, he's obviously worked for him before. He knows the qualities he does have, and he's getting the best out of him again. And it's great to see. I mean, it's also great that we do have options in that position. I'd certainly love as many options up front as we do have at centre half.
Sorry, Pete, just on that, just about the sort of using defenders to defend. I'm all for that. It's sort of, use your players for what they're good at. I think there was one point in the game where he went up high to the halfway line for a ball, completely misjudged the bounce, and it went past him. And it's like, yeah, that's not his game to sort of to go in and intercept like that. Just sit back, sit deep, win those headers, get the clearances in. But I think one thing that, like, just to pick up on what you said there, previously, well, before Dyche came in, a lot of the time our centre backs would be dictating the play because they'd pass it to a midfielder who'd then just give it straight back to them. And then they'd have to ping the ball like out wide into the attacking areas. And we're not doing that so much now. We'll get it across the back. We'll play it out to the full-backs. Then they'll start the attacking move by either knocking it inside, making the run, going down the wing themselves. It's just a much better way of doing stuff than saying to your two defenders, right, you do something with this, because that's not what they're there for. And I kind of felt that sort of previously our midfielders, they were playing really cowardly passes because they were just getting the ball with the back to the opposition half and just knocking it back to the centre backs, and not, instead of turning and like trying to make the play happen themselves, they weren't doing that. And I think that's, as you say, that's a huge difference now with this side, because the defenders obviously don't feel that pressure that they've got so much to do in the game apart from just keep it out of the net, just keep it away from that area. It's just basic defending. And yeah, as you said, it's kind of what we like to see as well, isn't it? Just everyone giving 100%, getting stuck in, doing the job well. Nothing fancy. That'll do for me.
Yeah, all day.
I'm just going to say, Pete, like, it sounds quite counterproductive to what you've both said there about the defensive side of things, but I've spoken about this quite a lot since we got Dyche in, about the stereotypes that have always been thrown towards him, given what Burnley were like. And obviously we all remember, I hated, apart from that 5-1 win we got on Boxing Day one time, you hated going to Burnley, or you hated Burnley coming to us. And I pretty much guarantee that 19 other sides in the Premier League at every time have probably said the same and felt the same when they've played him, given how it was always a physical battle. They were always tossing it forward to two forwards who are like 7 foot tall, and they're trying to do exactly what we've been doing defensively. But where I think that stereotype's been really unfair, certainly since we've got him, I've noticed another dimension that I never ever thought he had as a manager, and that was part of the reason why I was reluctant that he was going to become our new gaffer, because I think there's a hell of a lot more intelligence to what he does as a manager than what any credit people have ever given. And in that, I'm talking about, and I described this on the post-match on Saturday, there's a few misfits, for want of a better phrase, that we've had in our team, players that we've signed. The fellow who scored the goal after 30-odd seconds on Saturday was the one that epitomises this, I thought, because I don't know if you noticed at Forest away last week, we won a corner near our fans over there away, and he properly started like tapping his stomach and tapping his chest and all that, proper trying to get fans up on their feet and stuff like that. And I never ever thought that a player like Dwight McNeil, who I've always seen, he looks like he seems quite timid, would be doing that sort of thing. And I was thinking, well, it's all well and good doing that. And we've had players in the past that have done that. Seamus has done it a hell of a lot, hasn't he? He was doing it on Saturday as well, towards the Park End. You would have been all over that, Les.
Oh, he was outstanding on Saturday again.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but the thing I'm talking about there is that doesn't just seem like it's for show, where we've seen that sort of thing happen in managers that have been and gone. That looks like something that the likes of Dyche should properly drill into them when he's been there. I mean, he can't. It bores me in many a way personally, but when you hear him on his press conferences, he mentions the word work about 15 times on every show that he does. And again, you sit there and think, oh, he's just saying that for the sake of it because it's a presser and all that. But when you watch our like post match, and I hate to mention it, Les, because you've just said it about stats and whatnot, but how much graft you see from these players, regardless of the victory, because it's still not like great, isn't it? We're 3-7, but that's the type of results we need to keep us up.
Yeah.
But also, go on. Sorry.
No, just gonna say just quickly on McNeil. I think that comes back to what Pete said and just simplifying it and simplifying his job. So under Lampard, he was, there was switch, and I know he did switch to the right wing for a part on Saturday, but he didn't know whether he was going to be played as a left winger or a right winger, and he's not a right winger. He's not one of those players you can put in comfortably all the time. He's clearly a player who gets it down to the line and hits the crossing, and he can hit a belter crossing with like just one step up to the ball. He's like, if he gets his foot round it, he can hit really good crosses, and I think it's just simplifying his game as well to say, right, you're on the left wing, get down that line, get the ball in the box. That's your job. Help the fullback when you can. And that's it. It's just a simple winger's job. And he does that really well. And that probably sort of calms him right down, doesn't it? Because he's thinking, well, that's all I've got to do. I do that. I've done my job well.